Hi, everybody. Welcome to another PulseOne Tech Talk. We've got Billy, who is the CEO of SparxWorks, and we're going to talk today everything related to augmented reality, AR, virtual reality, VR, the metaverse. So what is AR, augmented reality, and why do we care about it?
So, I'll start with a little bit of like history and trivia. Augmented reality, believe it or not, has been around since 1862, when Henry Peppers decided to create a visual effect for theaters, museums, and even for houses at Halloween. It consisted in simply, grabbing an image, a transparent screen, putting it at a 45-degree angle with a light bulb, and having the viewer see the projected image. And that's how in all movies and theaters and in amusement parks where you see transformations, you see an object and all of a sudden you see something flying around it. So it goes that way back. But more recent examples are like you probably remember the yellow line on the NFL, from NFL graphic system. Well, that line is not there, yet it indicates precisely where where the ball needs to pass. More recently, maybe you play with Pokemon, and so characters appear right on your room or outside. Or maybe you try, if you're a lady, maybe you try some cosmetics with L'Oreal, or maybe you saw a sofa in your living room from using the IKEA app. So AR has been around forever. And it basically, augmented reality, when you think about it, is just basically you're able to use, hear, and see digital objects in the real world. And that's basically what, in sum, what it's about.
Hearing and seeing the progress of AR for a few years now, what does that mean for business? Like how, if I'm a decision maker for a business, like how does that impact what I'm doing?
That is a fantastic question, right? Because technologies are coming around all the time and they mature at different paces, right? And you ask a very important question, right? So AR is cool, awesome. What does it mean to me for business, right? Here's the key relevance. Our technologies change from time to time. You may recall that the web and later mobile changed completely how business were created. Some old companies disappear, like Sears, for example, and other companies appear, Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, later, of course, with mobile, Apple, Google, and Samsung. So when there is a deep transformation, there is a huge impact in business because it affects on how we communicate with the consumers and even in between businesses. So that's the real impact, that we're entering a new era with Web 3.0, which is a new set of standards. And to make it simple, what does this mean? It's basically a new version of the web with rich media, with all kinds of interactions, and with no download and upload, just with streaming, thanks to 5G and some other technologies that have actually aligned now.
So Billy, say I'm a decision maker at a product-based company, manufacturing. We manufacture a product, whether we manufacture in the US or outside the US. How is this helping my business sell more products, B2C and B2B also?
This is probably going to surprise you, Chad, but actually in the manufacturing sector and business to business, they have been using AR since 1992. As a matter of fact, the engineers at Boeing are the ones who coined the phrase augmented reality. So they have been using it. And here's like the practical, this is what excites me, and this is the practical uses. Boeing uses it to superimpose what cable is supposed to run through each panel. So the people that are running the cables have a clear map of how the cables run. You can imagine it's pretty important in an airplane. So, but recently also, John Deere, for example, launched an application so that you could get acquainted with their new industrial lawn mower. So one of those like for a stadium, or a large place. And what that did, it allowed people to basically view the artifact, get an idea of size, be able to check out the features, and then informal ready, go into the store and expedite the sales process. So Caterpillar, Boeing, John Deere are among some of the early adopters, and there's many other. Williams, the engineering company, has adopted AR as well. And from there, if you go to retail, as you mentioned, you have IKEA that introduced a view on my space, furniture, which has been adopted now by Amazon and Wayfair and all of the other giants of furniture manufacturing. So they in 2017, when they launched, they added 2 billion page views to their website. L'Oreal has revolutionized cosmetics on the retail side using AR. Women before had to try lipstick at the store, 2, 3, maybe 6. Now through the application, they actually try up to 46 colors. And L'Oreal has now over 120 applications for all the different brands. And on top of that, they're providing the service to others. So these are just some of the wonderful real examples with real numbers, with real metrics that you can find.
Is AR solving any pain points for companies?
As the interface changes, what you're going to see is that people will rely more on rich media. So they'll interact with 3D objects in the real world, or they'll pop up a head-mounted display and go into a virtual world, or they'll use video and graphics in a way that you haven't thought about before. So that transformation means that our way to communicating with our customers is going to change. So if a company doesn't embrace the new opportunities through digital to complement their services and their current product offering, then they will eventually lose market share because the consumers will start using the new ways to communicate through all of the new technologies that Web 3.0 is going to allow us to enjoy.
So is that why, so Walmart purchased an AR company? Is that their way of staying competitive to Amazon?
Absolutely. You just hit it right over the nail. This is a classic, right? Walmart is one of our most conservative companies, but look how far they have come. They learned from the early competition with Amazon. So yes, they actually have embraced AR and have bought an AR company and are now gearing up to implement AR so that it can assist you in your store experience.
So how does a company get into augmented reality, AR? How do they know that they're ready to do that? Like what's best practices for them to start getting into this technology?
That's another excellent question, Chad. So look, the first thing is separating hype from reality, right? Probably like many people, you have been hearing since 2017 that this is going to be a 20 billion, 130 billion, 140 billion market, right? And the question was like, great demos and stuff, but is it going to work? Is the infrastructure there? Would people use it? There's all those things, right? So here's the interesting thing. There's been an alignment, and I'll start with this. There's 2 pain points, let's say, for the new reality, right? One is asset conversion, right? That everything that ever existed needs to be converted into 3D, and everything will ever be made will also be generated in 3D, or most things at least, right? So that's the first pain point. So there's like a massive ingestion point in there. But the other thing that makes it possible now is that in the last 3 years, key technologies have aligned. So it started a while ago with the use of the cloud, but now edge access computing is available, streaming is available, real-time rendering is available, and of course 5G is rolling out ahead of schedule. It's not completely rolled out, but is significant the advancements. And this is really important because it's like the perfect storm. So all of the ingredients necessary to provide rich media, to allow you to not have to upload and download, but to actually stream, just stream directly content or down in any direction, are now in place. So that's what's really going to make it happen. So as you can imagine, companies that want to leverage AR, the metaverse, be able to sell NFTs, so basically double their inventory by having digital products and things like that, are also going to need to scale, like from an IT perspective, right? You're going to need to have a service strategy, a security strategy more than ever before, and some other things. So I usually try to advise people that if they don't already have an IT team, that they find somebody to advise them, or that they partner with a company that is focused on that, so that they can focus on content and products, which is what they do. So I think that's going to be a key for growth. And the reason why it's possible is because all of these technologies that I mentioned are finally here together. And you can just Google them and see that they are available by a number of vendors and all of that. So it's real, it's here.
Awesome. So having that core infrastructure, cloud, on-premise infrastructure of IT enables you to be able to get into this technology.
Yeah, because what happens when you start working with clients, and you get to the real operational questions. For example, one of our clients asked us, "Well, Billy, this sounds great, but I have 10,000 items in my catalog, and I have to convert them all to 3D. It's going to take me 10 years, right?" But the reality is there are answers for everything. In his case, we could leverage scanning for some of his products. Some products did have to be created from scratch, et cetera. So there are some headaches in legacy transition that we're going to have to engage in. But once you set up a strategy moving forward, you can start with the right foot. So you can start with video, you can start with 3D, and you can start with all the other rich media that you may need.
Well, and security, obviously, in the landscape today, like security is huge, and it's becoming the main priority for any IT infrastructure. So yeah, making sure all that digital content that you're creating stays safe and doesn't get breached, right?
Yes, I'm looking forward to see what you guys are going to be innovating, because there'll be new challenges. Because, for example, I can launch an experience from your building or from an image that you have created. So there's going to be a legal aspect to it. I'm sure that lawyers will start discussing how this is going to be handled.
Of course.
But from the security perspective, there's probably going to be new requirements for companies like yours, right? Because it'll be like, hey, Chad, how do we watermark or do something, to trace or to make sure that somebody doesn't hijack our image from our book or our service, whatever they're doing, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, on our end, in our platform, we have a platform that we created for businesses that want to use AR. And for us, for example, one of the aspects of AR is image recognition. So looking at something and launching something. Well, we create in our system a way to check if an image is already in use, so that someone else cannot put in the same image and all of a sudden start distributing other content with that image. So already we started to go in that direction. But as people start using it massively and businesses start to provide services to other businesses with AR and NFTs and VR and through the metaverse, the needs for security are going to grow in ways that we haven't imagined. So with everything that we have learned, I think people really need to take that seriously, especially those of us who work with customers and consumers. We need to protect their data and their information.
Great. So how do we get a hold of you? So if we're interested and we want to get a hold of you, how do we get a hold of you?
So we work around all day, just like you, Chad. So we're really easy to find. You can reach us at SparxWorks.com. You can find samples of work abundant on the site. You can try even AR experiences right through our browser. I thank you, Chad, for having me. I really enjoy this conversation.